Hello, everybody. Welcome to Galactic Wisdom. Very happy to have one of my good friends with me in the studio today. Rafael, hello. How are you today?
How you doing, my friend? So honored to be here. Thank you for having me. So happy to be here.
Well, it is fantastic to have you here. Now, before I start talking about Rafael, I want to let all of our viewers know that I am going on tour in about 10 days. And here is my tour schedule. And if anybody is interested in coming to one of my Alien Contact events, those are all the places that I am going to be. LA, Las Vegas, Salina, Utah, Glenwood Springs, Colorado, Hayes, Kansas, Lawrence, Kansas, Wichita, Kansas, Oklahoma City, Amarillo, Albuquerque, Winslow, and Kingman, Arizona. So if anybody's interested in coming along to any of my in-person events, then this is happening through my Galactic Wisdom Patreon group. And if you join the Patreon group there on the basic membership, then that gets you into all of those events. So please consider coming to that. Rafael, you live in Denver. That's on my route.
I know. I just saw the Colorado. I think I might be there February 13th, buddy.
Well, fantastic. Now, let me introduce you properly, Rafael. Rafael is a Bronx, New York native hip hop artist with a lifetime of contact experiences with non-human entities. Since the age of 5, Rafael has been visited by E.T.s, including greys, tall greys, Insectoid, Mantis Beings, and hybrids. As the artist Skitz The P.L.K, Rafael has gone from gangster rap to what he now calls high vibrational, multidimensional hip-hop. Using his psychic abilities to make positive music is now his main way of educating the masses about his contact with our family from the stars. The music conveys a message of peace, love, and positivity, while at the same time enlightening those that listen with knowledge handed down from the stars. Rafael has a weekly podcast called the Hybrid Podcast and a Facebook group called CE5 ET Connection, calling all hybrids. So, Rafael, I would like to ask you first of all about your new documentary. You have a new documentary out. It's on Amazon. It's called Calling All Hybrids. I've seen it. It is fantastic, and I recommend that everybody watch it. Give us an overview. What is the documentary about?
First of all, thank you so much for that introduction. And of course, I would love to. So the documentary, it's kind of like it conveys a story of like the transitional journey of what a lot of people might consider this journey of connecting with our family from the stars. A lot of people tend to think is usually all peaceful and this whole big experience, but there is a certain kind of awakening process that happens with this communication that you have with these non-human entities, right? So the documentary kind of encompasses how I use music and how my experience took me to a path of transitioning from that negative hip hop into positive hip hop, as well as, showing people a little bit into the life of the struggles I've had a little earlier on, with being in a highly religious family. And every time I would try to like express these experiences that was happening, how it was always being suppressed. And although it wasn't like my family's fault for them doing it, it was just their core beliefs that didn't align with the situations I was going through. It did end up eventually causing some trauma that I had to, through meditation, filter out, and through community, find out that I wasn't alone. So the documentary kind of expresses and encompasses that whole journey.
Wow. Yeah. Now, I've talked to you at length about your documentary and your experiences, and you're a very positive person, and you view your experiences now in a very, very positive way. But when they first started off, they were a little bit scary to you. Is that correct?
100%. So when these experiences tend to happen, I don't know anybody that would see this as being the norm, right? And if you do see this as being the norm, then you are way more highly advanced on this planet than I was at the time. So I guess my lack of knowledge to what was happening to me and the information that was given to me was definitely like a perfect storm and a cause for chaos as far as the actual blessing that was kind of happening to me at the time.
Yeah.
Now, when you have these beings coming into your room and you don't know what these beings are, you express it to family members. The first thing they might say is it's a nightmare or it's demonic or something that they're able to kind of like figure out that it kind of makes them comfortable in their mind to be
Yeah.
able to
Yeah.
explain it to a child. But when you have that information at an early age, you tend to feel like, wow, even though these beings aren't harming me, they are kind of like having me under this control, which I know now is for their safety, not for any other reason. But
Yeah.
if you don't know this information and you're being handed down that it's other information, then it tends to be terrifying.
Absolutely. What was your first experience that you had with these beings?
Okay, the first one that I can remember, and once again, I haven't been properly regressed. I'm hoping that through doing these podcasts, I can find the right person to help me on that journey of really unlocking fully the memories. But my first one that I can remember is around the age of 5 or 6. Now, it's kind of embarrassing to explain the earlier journeys because I have to mention a part that it's a little embarrassing. So because of these experiences and the trauma associated with it, I've always kind of had this fear of the dark or fear of sleeping alone to the point where my parents had to actually put a small twin size or full size bed in the side of the bedroom where they slept just so I can feel comfortable enough to know that I wasn't being taken. Now, this was happening even though I didn't have the memories. It was almost like that core, really deep rooted emotional thing that must have been, either suppressed or erased from my memory just for my own well-being as a child. But the feelings kind of were still rooted there on the underline. So I
Yeah.
kind of developed this technique that whenever I was sleeping or in a state of my eyes being closed, trying to relax, I would try to wiggle my toes. I don't know how I developed this technique. I consider it to be very primal and just kind of like
Mhm.
something I just knew how to do from an early age. And I knew that if my toe would not move, like if I tried to move my feet and it did not move, then I would be under some control. And when I opened my eyes, I was going to see something I didn't want to see. On this specific occasion, I was sleeping in my parents' room in my bed, and I get this urge that something's looking at me, and I do my little technique before I open my eyes. I try to wiggle my toes, and to my surprise, I couldn't move them. So I decided to open my eyes anyway. And when I opened my eyes, I was completely paralyzed, could not move anything but maybe a little bit of my lip motions and
Mhm.
my eyes moving around. And what I saw at the foot of my bed was the traditional kind of image of the gray being, right? The small being, very thin body, grayish, kind of chalky skin, big bulbous head. Eyes were like really big, black, almond, kind of slanted up a little bit eyes. Two holes where the nose would be, kind of nostril area. Small, kind of thin nasal passage coming down to the two holes. Small slit where the mouth would be. Kind of can see a lip definition, but not too much. And then two holes where the ears would be, no earlobes or anything like that. It did have some sort of like skin tight suit on or something. I would say maybe like a dark blue or really dark color material, almost had the resemblance of like a wetsuit. And when I noticed that being, I also noticed that at my door there was another being, and behind that being there was another. So there was three in unison, and I completely freaked out and panicked. I was like, oh, like kind of screaming from my mom that was sitting next to me, but she couldn't really hear me because I couldn't really move my mouth. It was kind of sounding like my mouth was covered and everything. The minute I started to go into panic mode and I was kind of realizing that I was looking at non-human entities, I heard this telepathic message in my mind. It was definitely in my own voice, but you can still tell it was foreign. I'm assuming they used my own voice because at the time I was a child and it would be the easiest way for me to kind of like comprehend the voice in my head. And in my head, in my own voice, I heard, there's nothing to be scared of. We're not here to hurt you. Everything's going to be okay. Kind of like the consoling kind of sentences, the average sentences of consoling. And at that same time, it started walking in between the bed I was sleeping at and the bed that my parents were sleeping at. And the funny thing about this walk was it wasn't like a traditional I'm walking, taking steps. It was very like floating, very soft, floating towards me. The best way to explain it is like if you see a Spike Lee film, there's usually this shot that he has is a very like hero shot where the main character is like going through this part on the movie where he's like having this aha or she's having this aha moment and everything around them seems to be moving really fast and they're kind of like standing still and sliding like almost forward.
Okay.
That's exactly how this being looked like. It was moving towards me. No motion of like the stepping. It was just slowly floating towards me. And it came so close to my face to the point where its nose and my nose almost kind of Eskimo kissed and touched. And it just, the eyes were just completely fixed in my eyes. And what I did notice was, which I don't talk a lot about, is there was kind of like movement behind the darkness, if that makes sense. So if it felt like there's some sort of plastic or contact lens type thing that makes their eyes look completely black. And behind that darkness, the closer they get to you, the more you could kind of see the iris and the pupil kind of moving around in there. So I just wanted to address that as well. But yeah, that was my first experience with these entities.
Yeah. And what you're describing there sounds the experience you had like classic sleep paralysis. And a huge proportion of the population of humanity has experienced that sleep paralysis. And I know that there are scientists out there in the medical profession that have come up with these explanations, these biological explanations for why sleep paralysis happens. But I've experienced sleep paralysis on a number of occasions, and people for hundreds, probably thousands of years have experienced it before. And when it happens, very often, most of the time, accompanying the paralysis is the feeling of a presence or the seeing of another entity. And it could be alien, it could look alien in nature, it could be a spiritual presence. But what is happening is the entity is stopping you from moving as it comes closer to facilitate better communication, better, closer, more harmonious contact. It is also it acts as a defense for them, because people can get crazy and violent.
Bunch of hairy apes.
Yeah. Now, over the years, you've continued to have experiences with different extraterrestrial entities, and one of those experiences is quite fascinating to me, and that is when you were taken on board a vessel and you were shown some children. Can you tell us from start to finish about that experience that you had?
For sure, 100%. So that's the experience that would lead me to believe that I've been involved in what some people would call the hybridization program. Now, I know that this program is very controversial. Like a lot of people, some side of the fence doesn't believe it exists. Another side of the fence does believe it exists. I can't tell you if it's for sure a part of the hybridization program, but when I explain what I'm explaining, you can kind of see how these dots get kind of like connected
Yeah.
towards the hybridization program. So I just remember being in, so the memory starts off with me in the driveway of my home in Oviedo. I lived in Oviedo for about 10 years, and a majority of my experiences that I can remember happened in the Oviedo house. And in this specific occasion, it was nighttime. And for some reason, I just remember being in my driveway, holding my oldest son by the hand and kind of just looking up at the sky at this massive, and I'm talking about massive UFO. It was so huge that I just kept on thinking, how isn't there people looking out the window or like driving a couple of blocks away and seeing this massive football size stadium of a UFO? Well, maybe not a football stadium size UFO, but like definitely football field. Like it was
Yeah.
just a huge UFO. And what the UFO looked like, it was very like, you couldn't see seams in it or anything. It was like almost one whole sheet of metal, and on that sheet of metal there would be like indentations that would have light coming out of them, and the color of this metal would be like a gunmetal black without a gloss finish. It's just completely black with no shine to it, and it had like this purple kind of electrified haze coming off of it. I mean, the only way to explain it is like if smoke had electricity in it and it was like slowly kind of drizzling misty down off the UFO. And I'm staring at this thing, and then all of a sudden it's like I'm blinking and I'm walking down this long hallway. Like I just blink, and now all of a sudden I'm walking down this long hallway. And the hallway is like completely white. There is also, once again, like no seams in the hallway, almost like it was cut completely perfectly out of something that was like the process of 3D printing or something. It was just like a perfect hallway, clean enough to where you can just eat off the floor, almost like a medical kind of situation, surgical kind of clean, very white, very clean. And I noticed that it was well lit, very well lit, but no lights. So the only way to explain it is like it's almost like the hallway had its own atmosphere, if that would make sense. And I was walking down this hallway and I was holding my son's hand with my right hand. And to the left of me, I'm holding an extraterrestrial's hand. And it's this very tall gray. And I used to call them tall whites until I started doing more of my research and realizing that that was a completely different race that I was speaking about.
Yeah.
But it was like as if a gray was really tall with a long neck and it had whiter skin than gray. And that's what it looked like. And the head looked exactly like the grays that came to my room, but really small in comparison to those grays. And the neck was almost like so long for the size of the head. Like it just didn't make sense. It was like 2 to 3 times longer than it needed to be for the body to neck, like the head to body ratio. And then the shoulders was very almost human, but like a frail, old, no muscle kind of human body, and very long fingers. I just remember these fingers. I'm 6'1". My hands are pretty big, and the way that these fingers just wrapped around my hand to this day, I just still remember how long those nubs were on the finger. And I was not scared at all. It was like I was completely fine with this. My son, with his right hand, because he's holding my hand with his left hand, was also holding the same identical version of this being to the right of him. And that being is gently holding his hand. We're being escorted by hand down this long hallway. And then as I come to the end of the hallway, I start to approach what looks to be like a window. I notice it to be a two-way mirror a little later on in the story, but at the time, it just looked like this long hallway, and then all of a sudden, on the right side of this hallway, there's just this window. I get the sense that these beings want me to kind of like look into this window, so I approach the window, start looking in. The being that was holding my son's hand walks my son into the room I'm looking into. So now this room that I'm looking into is identical to a daycare for some reason. It looks just like a daycare, similar to like the lobby of a children's hospital. Like when you go to a children's hospital and you just see like murals on the wall, toys all over the place. Like I saw a mural of like a bear and a lion in a conga line with other kids, and an owl reading a book in a tree to another child. Like the whole premise of this mural inside of this room was like animals and humans kind of being together. And then on the corner of the room, I saw some toys. There was a circular carpet in the middle of the room with a rocking chair directly in the center. And I'm looking into this room and I notice that my son is walking in and sitting Indian style in the right corner of the room. Now, as he's sitting there patiently waiting, once again, not scared, no look of fear is coming upon me. I don't have no signals as a father to like, oh my gosh, my son banging on the window. It's literally like I'm perfectly fine with this happening. And then there's like this archway in the right corner, and I start seeing these other beings start walking in. At first, they look like children, a little older than my son. My son at the time probably was 5 or 6. These beings look like maybe 9. Some was 5. Some would look like 6. Some looked like they were 10. But it was just like 3 or 4 kids, like just in a circle with my son, kind of like forming a circle. So my son is not in the middle. He's on the outside, but they kind of sit in like Indian style formation and form a circle. Now, these kids, they have this material on, almost looks like a hospital gown, but it's made out of gauze. And the reason why I knew they wasn't kids like my son, for instance, like just a regular human earthbound born child, is because I started to notice their faces. The eyes were almost 2 to 3 times the size of normal eyes that I'm used to seeing on Earth. They wasn't completely black. They did have whites to them and pupils and stuff, but very bright, brilliant, beautiful looking eyes, but just huge, like 2 to 3 times the size. Nose were a lot smaller. Mouth was also a lot smaller, and the head almost had like this little bit of a teardrop to it, the way it was shaped. Very small, petite, and gentle features. Hair was very like not full for some reason. It's almost like these beings had a hard time growing hair, but they did have some. And while they're sitting down in Indian style, it's almost like they're teaching my son how to like move something with his mind, because there's this object floating in the middle of the circle and they're playing catch without touching it. It's like they're pushing it to each other with their hands. And I get the sense that they're just teaching my son how they play on board ship. And it's like a fun game. So once I'm kind of noticing and looking at that, I get gestured in by another being, which, by the way, while I'm looking at this whole scenario, there is the tall being is just intently almost watching me watch the scenario. Like it was studying me in a way, in my interactions, my mannerisms, my emotions, however. And it gestures for me to walk into this room. I walk into the room through the same kind of archway that everybody got into the room in. And that's when I came to notice that the window I was looking in was a two-way mirror, because from inside of the room, it's just a reflection of me sitting in the rocking chair. So now I'm like, okay, I'm sitting in this rocking chair. They want me to sit here. I don't know why I'm being sat there at all. I'm just there. And all of a sudden, in the reflection, I can see this hybrid woman. Once again, same features as the kids, just very gentle and soft face. There is no aggression. There is no sadness. There is no happiness. It's a very kind of neutral energy, and it's holding a child. This lady energy could have been a male or a lady. I'm not sure, but it had very soft female features. And it gently walks to me in the rocking chair and hands me this baby. I grab the baby gently and I look down, and I'm noticing they give me this bottle with the baby. I'm noticing that the baby is not human. It doesn't look human. It almost looks a little sick. It's very pale in color. Hair, once again, very sporadic and kind of like not really growing, but kind of trying to grow. The eyes this time were completely black, had no whites or anything to it. Kind of looked a little sunken in for some reason, like the eyes had no liquid in it. It was just sunken in. And the baby, it was like they wanted me to feed it, bond with it. I get this like a connection feeling, like this is my baby. This is, for some reason, this is my child, and they want to see if I can nurture it back to health. I just get this feeling of overwhelming. I need to nurse this baby, but it's not taking the bottle, it's not taking my affection. It's kind of just not doing well. And then they're observing me while I'm trying to feed the baby, and I'm looking at them. I'm kind of confused because the baby's not responding. The beings are not talking to me telepathically or with their mouths. It's just kind of this weird situation. And then all of a sudden, it's like I blink again and I'm in this auditorium. And I know it sounds weird, like you don't remember the walk from leaving the room and walking to the room, but it's literally like you close your eyes, you open them, and now you're sitting in an auditorium. And I call it an auditorium because it has this look and feel of like this college like lecture hall. Like there's going to be a teacher coming to the class, and they have like these staggered seats going up in a stadium like formation. And I'm just sitting in this chair, and this lady is sitting right next to me. She's like this bigger lady, this black woman from Brooklyn is sitting right next to me. And the reason why I know this is because I notice her and I go, "Hey, how you doing? I'm Ralph. I'm from the Bronx." And she goes, "Hey, how you doing? I'm from Brooklyn." And I was like, "Oh, wow, that's kind of cool." And we're having this conversation, but none of us is like going, "How did we get here? What happened?" It's just like we were supposed to be here in this auditorium having this conversation. And while I'm in this conversation with this lady, I look at the bottom of the auditorium, and through this archway comes in this being. And it looks like it's made out of jelly skin type. I don't know how to explain it, but it's doesn't have bones, but it has the normal human shape, like the starfish kind of features: the head, 2 arms, 2 legs, body type deal. But it's walking very like liquid form, like the body is being held up by liquid, and how you would imagine a squid walking on its legs is kind of how it looked. And it had like translucent skin, and the liquid inside of his body had sparkles in it, and it was glowing like this beautiful golden color. And it had like a head that looked like a flicker of a flame, the way that it was moving. And there's this table in like the center of this stage where this being is kind of like slowly walking towards. And on that table is a small black box. It looks like a little cube. The being gestures towards the box, and out of the box comes the most brilliant, beautiful 8K, best HD quality hologram that you could possibly think of planet Earth. And it's just slowly rotating. And as I'm looking at how beautiful this hologram of Earth is looking, I see from the corner of the room this little meteor slowly coming towards the planet. And then it hits the planet, the whole planet explodes. And I hear in my head, and at this time it's not my own voice, very robotic. It's when this happens, you will all have a job. It sounded like Optimus Prime in my brain. Like, when this happens, you will all have a job to do. And it's once again, it's like I blink and I'm in the middle of this field. And it's me, and the only way I can explain it is like a Woodstock level size crowd of people in the middle of this field. And we all have our palms up, just facing the sky. And here comes this big light rushing towards Earth in the sky, looking like the meteor I was looking at. in the hologram rushing towards Earth, and we're all standing there with our palms up, and the meteor explodes in the sky. It looks like fireworks and little meteors coming down, showering down. And then it's like, once again, I blink from that scenario and I'm back in my driveway. My son has his legs wrapped around my waist, head sleeping on my shoulder. He's completely knocked out. I'm holding him and I'm looking at this UFO that I saw in the beginning slowly fade and float away. And I don't remember walking into the house. I must have blinked, woke up, and I was home again. But yeah, that's the little scenario that makes me believe that I was a part of the hybridization program.
A little scenario. I like the way you describe that. I've got questions, but before I ask these questions, I would like to say hello to a few of our followers who are out there. Hey, Melissa, thank you very much for being here.
Hello, Melissa.
And Diana, also, thank you for being here. Shelley is out there also.
Hi, Shelley.
Here's somebody I think you may know, Roy.
Roy, what's up, buddy?
Our friend Chris is out there also.
I love that guy. Hey, what's up, Chris?
Karen is a friend of mine. She's looking forward to watching the documentary.
Thank you so much, Karen. I appreciate it.
And I could carry on, but I want to get back. Thank you, everybody that's out there watching. I really appreciate you being here. So the situation that you've described, where you are being presented with babies or children and asked to take care of them in some way, both men and women who are taken on board craft often have this experience, and the experience is like they're asked to show parental love and affection to these children. There seems to be something important involved in that process, something that they need from their biological parents. And you felt like on a spiritual level, I'm guessing, that this child was yours, like it didn't have a big black beard or anything. You just big or dark beard, I should say. You felt like this child was yours.
100%. Yeah. It was just like that very, like, the only way I can explain it is when my son was born, I had like this instant connection that I knew when I put that little baby on my chest and I don't have a shirt on, he's going to hear my heart. I'm going to hear my heart. I had that feeling like that was my baby. And that, I don't know, that just that raw, visceral feeling. Yes.
And to this day, you feel like you have maintained connections with one or more of your hybrid children. Is that correct?
Definitely one. Don't speak about her a lot, but I feel like the more on this journey I'm talking, I'm noticing that I'm getting a lot more of the urge to kind of like speak about my daughter Exara a little bit more. And basically it's funny, she came to me in like more of a kind of dream state type deal, but it's every time I'm having an issue or there's something mentally going on, or I'm being drained, or I might be on a certain path that I'm unsure of, I can feel her energy guiding me through. And I know that it's the same kind of energy connected to some sort of DNA. She looks at me as her father, the same way I look at her as my daughter. It's just for some reason she's not able to live in our atmosphere. She's only kind of like able to live on ship. So that's kind of like, I guess that's how she was developed as a hybrid to live on ship. But she is like a captain and she runs a part of the program, and it's a beautiful thing. But yes, I definitely have communication with one of my children.
That is fantastic. So I'm going to speak a little bit about what I've learned over the years. there are many different species of alien, both extraterrestrial and terrestrial. And some of those species, that there's a whole variety of different species, different aliens that are out there. Some of them do have reproductive programs with humans. And there's actually very, very clear reasons for those programs existing. And I'm not going to go into all the details here because I want to hear more about your story, but they're not dark reasons. They're not trying to take over the planet.
Definitely don't feel that at all, neither. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. And there is one of the simple reasons is there is safety and security in numbers. And so they are reproducing. And they, in our vicinity of space, in the solar system, there are very likely, I don't have a definite number, but there are very likely billions of aliens and hybrids who exist around the planet Earth that we just don't typically see because they're in extra dimensional spaces or in the ocean or on other planets or asteroids or dwarf planets or in space or, you know, and you have the privilege of being a part of that program. If there's anybody watching this, Rafael, who feels like they might be part of a reproductive or a hybridization program, what advice, what words of wisdom would you give to them? Because when people first discover this, that it can be quite traumatic. Do you have any words of advice for them?
Well, yeah, 100%. So what I would say is I know what has happened to me, right? I don't know what that specific person's story is. Maybe that specific person's story is a lot more traumatic as far as what they've been through. So I don't want to say that every hybridization program situation
Yeah.
is the same. But for my specific situation, I've noticed that the way that I was being handled, especially with my child, was very delicate. And it was in a way that didn't have malice attached to it. Always felt empowered, never felt scared. And I know that might sound a little bit crazy coming from the point of these 7-foot tall beings and insects and things that don't look like us. I understand that. But when you kind of try to expand your point of view a little bit to the possibility of us not being the only living, breathing, sentient beings in the universe, then you can open yourself to the possibility that there's there might be a way for us to communicate with these beings. And I believe that if you believe you were in a hybridization program, the first thing I would do is, this might sound negative that I would say this, but if we don't check all the boxes of mental health first, then we're doing a disservice to the community, and we're doing a disservice to ourselves. So the first thing I would say is just make sure that you're mentally where you need to be. And once all those boxes are checked, now we can open ourselves to the possibility that you may be one of the people involved in these programs. And I would consider looking into the community and reaching out to others that might have similar experiences. I know that when I was alone in this situation is when I was the most depressed. It was only when I started meeting other people like me is when I noticed, oh my gosh, he's or she is going through what I'm going through. And now I don't feel so alone. We have things we could talk about, and we can be of service to the community in a more positive way. So I wouldn't look at it, even if it is negative at the moment, I wouldn't look at it as a fully negative experience. I would look at it as an experience for you to grow and have wisdom and be able to give people I don't know how to explain it, but like the comfort in knowing that they might not be alone. So I believe that if this is happening to you, or you believe it is happening to you, you have every right and almost a responsibility to let people know. So that way we have those other people that might be going through these situations and might be looking at it in a darker way, like, oh my gosh, this happened to me, I gotta kill myself, or oh my god, this is happening to me, I must be crazy, or oh my god, like, once we figure out what's really going on and we get a grip on it and we express it the way I chose to express my experience was through art, right? I chose my talent of writing music and doing that to get my emotional kind of like those negative feelings that I had towards it out. And what I've noticed is when we use art as a medium of kind of like a therapeutic medium for these negative experiences at the time when you don't have the knowledge attached to knowing why this is happening to you, it could work wonders. So if it is stressful and you do believe you're in the program and you've done all the steps to, take care of yourself and know that you're mentally where you need to be, the first thing I would do is reach out to a community and figure out a way to display that, whether it be through art, writing a story, developing a podcast, writing a movie, doing a song, poetry. I mean, there's just so many different forms of ways to be able to release that emotion. So that would be my long-winded advice for people that might be going through
Thank
the
you.
same thing.
Thank you. Now, if anybody's interested in watching Rafael's documentary, here's the cover art from it, Calling All Hybrids, and this is available to watch on Amazon. And it's good. It's very good. I highly recommend it.
Thank you.
Directed and produced by Josh Golembeski, and he's a great guy also. And yeah, well worth watching.
Wonderful, wonderful, man. I mean, he was able to take this story and put his art on top of what was happening to me. Like, I just remember explaining the story to him and going, usually when I tell this to people, I feel like I'm crazy and you want me to kind of like say it to everybody. And he said what I'm telling to everybody. Like, when these experiences happen and we've really exhausted all other options and we come to the point where, wow, I'm one of the people that are actually going through these experiences. It's almost our duty to like get out there and say it. So for every million people that might hear a podcast like this and go, this guy is crazy, or he's a grifter, or he's doing this, they are hundreds of thousands of people that need to know that they're not alone. And
Yeah.
I think that's who I focus on the most. And I just give peace, love, and light to everybody else in the process.
Fantastic. And I'm putting up on the screen right now, this is your website.
Yes,
People
yes.
can contact you there if they would like advice, or if they would like to find out more about your music. Now, you have produced music for some of the documentaries that I have made.
Yes, yes. It was super fun, by the way. I love working on your stuff.
Yeah, and it's good music. It's very atmospheric. It really gets into the mood, the emotion of the moment.
Thank you.
Yeah. Now, I'd like to come back to one of the experiences. Let's see. We've got 10 more minutes of this this show left. The experience of you being in that auditorium, seeing the planet Earth, seeing some kind of fiery projectile, and then also in the field, seeing some kind of fiery projectile come down and explode. Now, a lot of people know that I'm very interested and concerned about environmental issues, and also, and one of those environmental issues is the possibility of nuclear bombs exploding in the future. Now, I've talked to you about this before, and you've said that you're not certain what kind of projectile that was, but what does seem to be the case is that you and others who have connections with E.T.s are being shown images of the future in which there are some kind of catastrophic things happening. And it's almost like very specifically for you, when this happens, you have a job to do. do you have any inclining at all about what your job might be when we face some kind of catastrophe in the future?
Well, fortunately, I've been able to figure that out kind of recently within the months of this documentary and kind of like working on this documentary. Because of the release of the documentary, I've had a ton of people reach out to me. And one of the people that reached out to me, I told them some other experiences that I had, and we come to the conclusion that it's a part of a piloting program that I'm a part of, right? So I believe that when and if something happens, and also I want to preface by saying this. I do believe that we have choices on which timelines we choose to be on. So if you simply don't want to be on a timeline that doesn't have a catastrophic end, it's as simple as shifting your vibration to a timeline that more better suits you. But when the collective on a whole starts thinking into cataclysm kind of thought process, the timeline can go into, the end of the world type scenarios, doomsday type deals. I believe that if we do lean into a timeline in which something like that were to happen, my job in that time would be piloting some sort of ship that will allow me to get humans in a large number to safety. The way I view it is, if you see me driving the ship and telling you to get on it, it's a lot easier for a bunch of humans to go, yep, I'm getting on the ship with this guy. I don't know who he is, but he's a human, than it is for a tall gray or a prey of mantis to say, come into the ship, I'll save you. So I think that some of us are pilots. Some of us might be, highly advanced in remote viewing for certain reasons, or highly advanced in other forms of, the paranormal, just the way, I don't know, like telepathy. I don't know what they call it as a whole, but there are gifts that we're given as humans that are very dormant. And since we're not shown as children how to develop them in our adult years, they stay dormant. I believe that the more contact you have with these extraterrestrial beings or multidimensionals, you start opening up those pieces of your brain to be able to communicate with these beings and interact with them, go into the spaces in which they hold their energy at and communicate with them there. And when you bring that back with you, it kind of lingers open a little bit, like the door stays open. And if you practice things like remote viewing, lucid dreaming, out of body experiences, all those things can be induced as a human being on this planet. So that's the mission. My mission is to enlighten as many people as possible with music. If a cataclysm happens, I'm more than likely going to be the guy to scoop you up in a UFO and tell you, let's get out of here and go to a safe place. And yeah, pretty much that's it, man. At least that's what I think it is.
Yeah. It's very interesting. I also have a mission. To my knowledge, I'm not part of a hybridization program yet. I feel that I will be in the future. There's some evidence that I will be in the future. But my mission, when the catastrophes happen, is on the land where I am, which is in a beautiful mountainous area in California. I'm going to be helping a community survive here with our alien friends.
I'm on my way. I'll be there. All I need is GPS. Now I know where I'm going to go. So you guys can see me there. All right.
Yeah. So for our audience members who are watching, around the world, there are people like me, like you, like other people I have on this show, who have missions that are being assisted and supported by our ET friends. And I recommend that you friend us, you come to us, you
Yes.
listen to us, and along the way, there will be others who are trying to take you off of that route, trying to tear you away from a path which is constructive and light. And you will know because, well, there's positivity and there's negativity.
Yeah.
There's constructive and there's destructive. There's love and there's hatred. And if you always stay on the loving path, feel those energies, then you will know which is the right path to be on. And we want as many people and other animals, I'm going to say, to survive into the future and flourish in the future. The future is big.
Agreed.
And on the other side of any catastrophes that our society is presently causing, there is a beautiful future on the other side of that, both on this planet and off this planet. And you are all invited to be part of those communities if you are on board with our whole peace, love, and happiness, and wisdom. So we've got maybe 2 more minutes of this left, Rafael. I do just want to maybe ask you one more question.
For sure.
Telekinesis.
Yeah.
You tell us how you practice telekinesis. Can you do it in 2 minutes?
It's all anything that has to do with any kind of gift of that certain has to do with trust. It's all about the trust that you're capable of doing it and the belief that it's already done. Once you sit in that space, anything is possible. So as stuff like telepathy, telekinesis, remote viewing, out-of-body experiences, they do have their kind of like, this is what you do, your instruction manual to induce it and get it done. But at the very root of all of it is trust. You have to trust that you already have the ability to do it and it will be done.
Fantastic. And in the video, in the documentary, I think I saw you with, was it a needle with a piece of paper balanced
Yeah.
on top?
Yeah.
And with the power of your mind, you were moving that. Is that how you
Yes.
go about practicing telekinesis?
Yeah, it's just you have to already see it in your mind spinning. And the way your mind works is everything around you is being created by the perception that you believe in your mind anyway. So if you see it in your mind spinning, it's not put your hand up and make it spin type thing. It's give the universe thanks that it's already spinning and just wait for it to spin and watch it happen. It's kind of the energy. The more you let go of doing it, the faster it happens. The more you try to do it, the more ego is involved, the more you won't get it done. The same thing with like turning off street lights or making the light go from green to from red to green, or making it rain or making it stop raining when you want it to. All these abilities are possible with the sheer belief of knowing you can do it and thanking the universe that it's already done. It's that simple.
Fantastic. Rafael, thank you so much for being a guest on my show. It has been a real pleasure. Thank you to all of my audience members. I would like to encourage everybody watching to join my Facebook group, Galactic Wisdom. If you'd like more information, if you'd like to connect with Rafael or go on any of my upcoming tour events. Thank you so much. Take care, everybody. Goodbye for now.
Yay, later.